Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Robert Seller Sports Podcast. I know it's been a minute. I know it's been like 2 months since I've done a video. I think the last thing I did was talking about March Madness. I do miss college basketball, but I know it has been a while. One of my really good friends said, "Man, it's been 2 months since you posted something. You got to do something." And I promised I might get some out this weekend. So, what better video to do? What better way to end the hiatus than a little Alabama Crimson Tide 2026 season preview? This will be the first of hopefully many season preview videos that I'll do. Just sort of looking at where teams were last year, where they are this year, where they've changed, what their rosters are looking like, what their schedule is going to be like. Because the Alabama season, and not just the Alabama season, but the college football season, is not as far away as we think. I know with the sports world, we got the NBA Finals right now. Spurs-Knicks has been an awesome series. I would love to talk about that. I would love to talk about the World Cup, which is coming up. That's going to be spectacular. But I'm sticking with college football and college basketball because it's what I do. They're my two favorite sports, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The Alabama Crimson Tide last year in 2025 were a roller coaster of a team. For those who don't recall exactly how the season went for Alabama, let me give you a quick refresher. First of all, in week one, Alabama lost to Florida State, which was crazy. It was a wild way to start the season. Everyone was gunning for Keelon DeBoer's head. They thought he was going to be fired. It was a crazy time to be an Alabama fan and to be a college football fan in general with what was going on in the building of Alabama. Fast forward 6 or so weeks, and Alabama had beaten 4 straight SEC opponents that were in the top 25. They beat Georgia on the road, the first time a team has won in Athens since 2019. Or maybe even 2018. It was one of those years. South Carolina beat them one year. They beat Missouri on the road. They beat Tennessee. They beat Vanderbilt. It was crazy. And they had this crazy turnaround from going to almost being unranked to being a top 5 team and one of the favorites to win the national championship. But slowly but surely, the Crimson Tide, they sort of went downhill. The offensive line issues became more apparent. The lack of consistent wide receiver play, in my opinion, really plagued this team. And especially Ty Simpson's injury led to the Crimson Tide having a lackluster finish to the season, losing to Oklahoma, nearly losing to Auburn. They did pull that one out, and it's in Jordan-Hare, but they almost lost that game, and then they got absolutely dismantled 2 times in their last 3 games. They got crushed against Georgia in the SEC championship, and then just flat out embarrassed in the Rose Bowl against the Indiana Hoosiers. So that was how the season went for the Crimson Tide. If you look on the screen right now, or if you're just listening, that's fine. Do whatever you want. Don't let me tell you what to do. But on the left is my Rob Sell rating, which is something that I came up with this summer. I think it's kind of cool. I'll explain it more later. But basically, these are the efficiency rankings for the 2025 Alabama team last season. Per my money, for my model, they had the 43rd most efficient offense in college football, which is, in the top not bad percentile considering that there's 136 FBS teams, but it's not where you want to be to compete for a national championship, and that is what Alabama wants to do, obviously. Their defense was great. They were 18th in the country in defensive efficiency, which I thought was pretty impressive, and one of the more slept-on things about this Alabama team. But really, their offense was just very inconsistent, and that's very, very highlighted by the fact that they were 15th in the SEC in rush yards per game. Alabama, 15th in the SEC. That's second to last. And it's been a problem that's been brewing for a while for the Crimson Tide, but we'll keep going for now. Havoc rate is basically the rate at which defenses force havoc plays, whether it's tipped passes, interceptions, fumbles, sacks, stuff like that. So Alabama was 21st in the nation in havoc plays. I mean, they were 7th in the SEC in sacks. Their secondary was just fantastic. In my opinion, that was the best part of this Alabama team was their secondary. They were a very zone-heavy team. They played a lot of cover 3. Occasionally, they would play Tampa, but it was a cover 3 heavy team for my money. It was what the Alabama Crimson Tide were. They got a dynamic duo at corner and safety, and that's what helped them be the best statistical pass defense in the SEC last year. So if you're an Alabama fan and you want something to hang your hat on for 2025, just talk about your pass defense. It was fantastic. They were great in the red zone, both offensively and defensively, which I think highlights the creativity of Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator. But overall, the Alabama Crimson Tide, the name of the game, and basically why they were not great, why they didn't go on to win the national championship. They were still a great team. They had a great season, won 11 games, and won the SEC regular title. But the reason they weren't elite was because of the inconsistency on the offensive side of the football. They had a great passing attack. Ty Simpson had a great season, but they just simply could not run the football. I mean, if you watched anyone talk about Alabama last year, it was because they could not run the football. as I already mentioned, 15th in rushing yards per game. And when you are so one-sided in college football or in any level of football, it could be in the NFL, it could be in the Canadian football, it might be you're one-dimensional. It makes it so easy for defenses to just counteract exactly what you're trying to do. And that's what happened with Alabama. And in my opinion, when we look at why Alabama can't run the football, no one really tackled that issue. If you watch Greg McElroy, if you watch, Paul Feinbaum or anyone that talks about football in the SEC or just on ESPN, they don't actually talk about the why. They just say, oh, Alabama can't run the football. And they just leave it at that. No one wanted to talk about the why. The reason that Alabama couldn't run the football last year, in my opinion, is not because of the personnel. Their offensive line was good. They had a lot of talent on that offensive line. Caden Proctor was a first-round pick. Michael Carroll is a 5-star recruit. Brailsford was one of the best centers in college football last year. He was spectacular. So in my opinion, the reason that they couldn't run the football was not that they weren't talented on the offensive line. It was a schematic issue because the Alabama offensive line, they were good. They were huge. Caden Proctor is 6'8", 370. Jaden Roberts, huge human being. Cam Dewberry, all of them are so big. And it's fine to have an offensive line like that if you just go the Miami route. Miami had a huge offensive line, and what they did all of last year was say, you know what, we're just going to line up and we're going to run duo. We're going to run right at you, and we're not going to get fancy about it. We're just going to say we're bigger than you, and we're going to fall forward, and we're going to pick up 5 yards every single time with our big 230-pound running back, and there's nothing you can do about it. And they didn't care about breaking off explosive runs. They did occasionally, but that wasn't their goal. They were just simply trying to get 5-6 yards per carry because they were bigger than you. Alabama had a very similarly built offensive line, and the whole season they were trying to run pin and pull, which I thought was ridiculous. They were trying to get these huge offensive linemen wrapping around and going to block second-level defenders. I just don't understand what Ryan Grubb and the offensive staff was seeing there. I don't get it. They were just not calling plays for their personnel. I was lost all season on why they were doing that. But to me, that was the number one issue with this Alabama team. It wasn't personnel. It wasn't necessarily bad philosophy. It was just poor play calling, if I'm being completely honest. And I understand that Ryan Grubb is a great mind, and he's had a lot of success both at the college football level and kind of at the NFL level. But I think he had a lot of success at Washington with a very college-style offense, a lot of RPOs, and a lot of great ways that he could use his weapons. Then he goes to the NFL and has to NFLize his offense because the NFL and college football are very different sports. Comes back to college football and runs his NFL-style offense with Alabama. And in my opinion, it didn't work because they're different sports. And there's a lot of different rules between the two teams, and the teams are made up of completely different athletes. So in my opinion, if Alabama needs to succeed, the number one thing that they need to attack is Ryan Grubb saying, you know what, I got to go back to my college roots. I got to stop running pin and pull with 350-pound linebackers. I got to throw some more RPOs. I got to get more short yardage plays and extensions of the run game because if we don't have a run game again this year, if I'm Ryan Grubb, it's going to look rough. But moving on, let's look at the coaching staff for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And you might say to yourself, Robert, I don't know anybody on this menu of the screen that you're showing me. Why are we talking about the coaching staff? That's a great question. In my opinion, coaching staff is like the most important thing of a football team. I don't care how many 5-stars you have. I don't care how much money you have in the budget. I don't care how many players that you know on the team. If the coaches aren't good, they're not coaching the right things, and they don't have the right people behind them to help them succeed and help them become the best versions of themselves on and off the field, you're not going to have a good football team. If I'm making a comparison, it's like when you're looking at a movie. You're looking at if you're going to go watch a movie, and yeah, you might have some great actors. You might have Timothée Chalamet out there. You might have Samuel L. Jackson, and you're like, dang, this is a talented cast. This is going to be a great movie. But it could be directed and produced by me. And I don't care how good of an actor Timothée Chalamet is. If I'm directing the movie, it's not going to be very good because I have no experience with that. So, yes, I get that the cast is a very important part about what makes a movie fantastic. But at the end of the day, the people behind the scenes, the producers, the directors, all the choreographer, whoever else is in charge of making those movies, the writers, those are very, very important people, and they're crucial in determining the success of a film, just like a coaching staff that does all the behind-the-scenes work is crucial for a college football team to succeed, especially in this day and age. And Alabama has a very interesting coaching staff. You can very clearly see the areas that Alabama has been struggling in recently and them attacking those with new coaching hires. If you look at the teams that are in yellow, at least I think it's yellow. I'm colorblind, so I'm not entirely sure. You look at the coaches that are in yellow. Those are the new coaches that Alabama has hired. Shout out Adrian Clem, by the way, the new offensive line coach. Alabama knew it was a problem. As you saw on the last slide, they were 15th in the SEC in rushing yard per game and 13th in sacks allowed. That's an issue. That's definitely something that we have to address if we're Ryan Grubb and we're getting on the board. So they went out and they got a new offensive line coach in Adrian Clem, who's got a lot of experience all over the place. He's coached in a lot of places in college football. He's coached all over the place in the NFL too, which I think is fascinating. And so we'll see how that goes for Alabama. But the offensive line should look completely new, both personnel-wise and coaching-wise. Everywhere else across the board. It's a lot of very familiar faces for the Alabama Crimson Tide. There's a plane flying behind me. That's probably what you're hearing. I'm in my backyard. But they lost their wide receiver coach, Jamarcus Shepard, I think was his name. Give me some. No, that's not his name. I don't remember what his name was. They lost the wide receiver coach to Oregon State. They got a new wide receiver coach in Derek Nix, which I think is pretty good because honestly, Alabama's wide receivers, this is one of my takes. I didn't think they were very good last year at all, or the year before that, really, to be honest with you, other than Ryan Williams making crazy spin catches. But I just think they struggled route running. That's why teams could just run man coverage. If you think about it, the teams in the SEC that consistently run man coverage last year are the teams that Alabama struggled the most against defensively. The teams that primarily ran man coverage against Alabama last year were Georgia, LSU, and South Carolina. Alabama nearly lost to South Carolina. They put up like 16 points against LSU and got swamped against Georgia in the SEC championship because Kirby went, we can't stop Ty Simpson picking us apart in zone coverage. He's too good. We're gonna get Dalen Everett and Romello Jones or whatever and freaking number 1 Ellis Robinson, and we're gonna line up to play man coverage. And your wide receivers are overrated, so we're gonna lock you up. And that's what they did. So Alabama needs some better wide receiver play. They need better offensive line play, and they address those issues with new coaching hires. And we'll see if that goes well for Mr. DeBoer. Hopefully it does if you're an Alabama fan. And one thing I love about this new Alabama 2026 team, the entire defensive coaching staff of last year pretty much, they are all coming back. The defense was fantastic last year. Shout out Jason Jones, was the 2 defensive backs coach for the Crimson Tide. They coached a fantastic unit last year, and I think they're going to do that again. Kane Womack is, of course, back as defensive coordinator. And he's fantastic. I love Kane Womack. I love his philosophy on football. So Alabama's defense should be spectacular, but let's focus on the offense for a second because for whatever reason, people tend to focus on offense before defense. I'm more of a defensive guy, but let's focus on the offense. First of all, first thing we have to focus on, I'm talking about this Alabama offense, and I probably should have led with this, but, we're already 12 or so minutes into the video. This is going to be a very interesting quarterback battle coming down to the offseason. I think the consensus right now amongst both Alabama fans and media members is that Keelon Russell is going to win the job. That's why I have his name ahead of Austin Mack. And I love Keelon Russell. I do. I think he's a very interesting athlete. I think he's got a lot of potential to be a fantastic superstar quarterback. And, he can make big-time highlight plays with his athleticism, with his arm talent. He's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But if you're asking me what my opinion is for this Alabama Crimson Tide team, and I have a lot to say on this, but I think that the Alabama Crimson Tide should start Austin Mack next year. And before you just go crazy, before you lose your mind, before you click away or do whatever, just hear me out, okay? Everyone and their mother is arguing for Keelon Russell right now. Let me just give you give me a couple reasons. Just give me a few minutes to talk about Austin Mack. The first thing, of course, that just pops off the page with Austin Mack is his physicals. I don't have it pulled up right now, but he's like 6'4", 6'5", 200 and something pounds. He is big. He is huge. And if you look at a lot of the quarterbacks that are succeeding in the NFL today, it's a lot of those guys. They're big and they're huge because everyone's running zone coverage, and it's so much easier to read zone coverage and pick it apart when you're 6'4", 6'5". So that's just what people are looking for in quarterbacks these days. Austin Mack has it. Austin Mack is in his, 4th year with Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb. He understands this offense just amazingly well, and I'm going to play some tape for you in a second. We're going to look at his a couple of his drives against Indiana in the Rose Bowl. But I just think Austin Mack, basically, in my opinion, what a quarterback should be in an offense in football is just a distributor, like a point guard in basketball. That's what a quarterback should be. An offense should not rely completely on a quarterback to make Patrick Mahomes, Caleb Williams type plays to lead their team to victory. That's not sustainable. That's not efficient football. That is not what is winning in this sport in 2026. Look at who just won the Super Bowl. The Seahawks did. Sam Darnold is not making big-time, huge scramble plays like Keelon Russell is going to make. Sam Darnold has great arm power. He's got a great arm on him. He's tall, he's big, and he understands the offense, and he makes smart football plays. That is what a quarterback that wins championships do. Look at Fernando Mendoza. He did not once have to pass for over 200 yards in a playoff game for Indiana, and they smoked Alabama, they smoked Oregon, and they beat Miami in the national championship to win the whole thing without him having to do everything. So in my opinion, if Ryan Grubb really trusts his offense, if he trusts his run game, if he trusts his offensive line, and he trusts his receivers, and he trusts his play calling, he should have Austin Mack as his starting quarterback because Austin Mack will more consistently play on time. He has better fundamentals. He will make less mistakes, and he will be a better manager of the offense. And if you're saying, Robert, that's crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, let me show you some clips real quick as to why I think this is true. So this is the Rose Bowl. I know Alabama fans want to forget about this game. I understand that. It was 38-3. But what we did get out of this game, if you're an Alabama fan, is some very interesting tape from number 10, from Austin Mack. This is what I mean by playing on time and understanding what defenses are giving him. Indiana's going to play cover 3 here. It looks like they're in quarter shell. That's just the Signetti thing, just always being in quarter shell. The safety that's standing on the Prudential logo is going to step up and play what we call buzz in the football world. This is going to be cover 3 buzz. And Alabama, Ryan Grubb's going to dial up a great beater on this play. He's going to send Cuevas up the field. That's going to take D'Angelo Pons. And Jeremy Bernard's going to be wide open on a wheel route. And Austin Mack, look at the footwork from Austin Mack. This is how you play on-time scoring. 1, 2, 3, step up in the pocket to avoid the rush. This is what he does. And he keeps his eyes downfield, zips it to an open Jeremy Bernard. This is just perfect quarterback play from Austin Mack. This is exactly what you want your quarterback to do. And it's nothing special. Like he's not breaking boundaries. He's not, doing anything that would put him on the EA Sports cover. That's not what he does. He senses the pressure like he's taught to do. He steps up into the open space. So many young quarterbacks will try and step and go around to the right and just get sacked every single time. Not Austin Mack. He will step up, keeping his eyes downfield while sensing the pressure and making a strong throw. And that looks so effortless. That's how much power he has. It's because he's so big and he's got so much strength in his legs. Is a throw like this looks so effortless from Austin Mack. I mean, that's a 20-plus yard throw on a dime down the sideline to Jeremy Bernard. So, again, if I'm Alabama, I'm seeing that and I'm saying, dang, this guy can run my offense. Is he going to do anything crazy? When it's 3rd down and 20, is he going to spin around and make some young Jalen Milroe plays and bail us out? No. And that's why everyone thinks Keelon Russell should be the starters because he makes those plays and you see those highlights. But what Keelon Russell doesn't do as consistently as Austin Mack is play on time and run the offense and manage it at an elite level. I don't know what's going to happen on this play. I forget. Austin Mack steps up in the pocket again, keeps his eyes downfield, and rips a freaking – oh, he's so good. I mean, come on, look at this play from Austin Mack. Again, look at the pocket presence. This guy has no starts. He has not started a single game in college football, and he's getting pressured by Indiana guys because his offensive line is doo-doo, and he steps up in the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield again, shoulders facing his target, and just rips one beautifully to Josh Cuevas. I just think he's so composed. I know that I'm really talking a lot of good about him right now, but I just think he's so composed. I think he plays so on time, and I think he's got all the physical traits that you want out of a starting quarterback in this day and age in college football. Now I'm going to talk some negative on Austin Mack, okay, because he's not perfect. This is something that you get from a young player who hasn't played a lot of snaps in college football. When you're a quarterback in football in general, I'm going to stand up. When you're reading through progressions, you want to do it slowly, or not slowly. You want your feet to match your eyes. If I'm reading a progression to my right, I'm stepping, and then I'm stepping, and then I'm stepping. My feet aren't constantly tapping because then you can't plant your feet very successfully when you're trying to make a throw. And Austin Mack is going to read through some progressions here, and look at his feet. His feet aren't matching his eyes. His feet are all jittery, and they're like, just watch. You'll see what I'm saying. He snaps. Look at his feet. He's tapping. We can't do that when we're quarterbacks. We gotta keep our feet planted. We gotta move with our eyes. If we do that, we will just play so much more consistently, and we'll play like we know what's going on, and we're not just a 3rd grader sitting in the back playing touch football in his backyard. That being said, he does scramble and pick up 4 yards because he's big. Look at him fall forward. That's a big nickel hitting him. 12 is a hard hitter. I don't know if you remember watching Indian football last year. That's their nickel. He had like 3 sacks in this game, and Austin Mack fell forward against them. But anyway, That was his first drive. This is his second drive. I forget what happens on this play, too. I made this video a minute ago. Horton's going to motion. Oh, I remember. Okay, again, Indiana's going to be in cover 3 again. The dude on the far right he's got a third. Middle field safety's got a third, and then D'Angelo Pons has a third on the far left side. What's open against cover 3? Seams and flats every single time. Isaiah Horton is going to go sit in the seam on a little hook route. And this is obviously Grubb is a great offensive line. He knows Indiana, open field close right now is probably cover 3. We're going to have a beater for you, Mr. Mack. All you got to do is be confident, trust the system, and make this throw. Austin Mack, 3 steps, 1 hitch, bang. Right on the money to Isaiah Horton, on time, in the hole in the zone coverage. This is what you want if you're an offensive coordinator. You do your job, which is, creating the play to beat the cover 3 defense and having an open receiver right there. That's your job. Offensive coordinator executed perfectly. Quarterback doesn't need to do anything special. All you want in your quarterback, if you truly trust your offense, is to be able to do that. Is to have the confidence to take a little 3-step drop, 1, 2, 3, and then 1 hitch and put it right on the money. That's all you got to do. I know it's simple, but the fact that it is simple is fact enough to me that Austin Mack should be the starter for this team. So I know that's just a small clip. And then here it is again, another cover 3. And if you're Ryan Grubb and you're saying, okay, if you're going to run cover 3 and you're going to make your linebacker who is showing blitz right now, if you're going to make him go cover the flat every single time, we will take that little 5-yard hitch route to our X receiver every single time. And Austin Mack sees it, and Austin Mack is playing on time and trusting his coach. This is a freaking throw. I know it doesn't really look like it, but this is a throw. Indiana's going to disguise zone. This is actually man coverage, and Austin Mack is going to just throw a seed. This shows the arm power. Look how he didn't even really have to stretch back to throw this football. Look at the mechanics on this. Ooh, I like to see a quarterback stretch his arm a little bit more. That was like from the holster. If you're doing like a gun shooting reference, he didn't have to cock that thing back at all. He's throwing that like from his ear. And it's a zipped perfect spiral, 10 yards to the field on the sideline on a 3rd and 4 in a very, very specific spot to Jeremy Bernard. So I really like that from Austin Mack. This is going to be our last highlight of the day for Austin Mack, but it is a negative one. So I'm sorry, Mr. Mack. I showed a lot of positive things. This is another trait of a young football player. And it's really hard to do this as a young football player because Indiana was like the best team in the country outside of maybe Texas A&M in terms of dialing up really unique pressures to confuse quarterbacks. But Indiana's going to – they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pass rushing threats walked up to the line right now, and Alabama's got 6 guys to block them. So if you look, 64 Michael Carroll is going to take the edge. Jam Miller, that blitzing linebacker to the right. 77 is guarding the defensive tackle right there. Brailsford's got the linebacker, Aiden Fisher. Dewberry has the guard. Proctor has the tackle. Everyone, when teams simulate pressure like this, most college football teams, they just ID certain threats. So they basically say, okay, you got that guy, you got that guy, you got that guy. And if anyone else comes that is not ID'd, that's on the quarterback to pick up and to play hot off of. So if you see the 6 threats that they have walked up to the line of scrimmage, all 6 of those guys are accounted for. Indiana is going to send the nickel who's standing on like the Rose logo right now. They're going to send him. He's not accounted for. That's why Alabama doesn't block him. He's not accounted for in the pass protection. So this is on Austin Mack. He has to recognize that nickel is blitzing and play hot, which means throw the ball as fast as you can to supposedly at the blitz. Because you see the nickel's blitzing, that leaves Cuevas wide open. Cuevas is just an easy 10 yards on this play. But since Austin Mack is young and he's not realizing that blitz is coming, he's still doing his 4-step, 5-step drop, and he's looking towards Ryan Williams. Son, we got to play hot. We got to look to our left, and we got to get the ball out because 12 is our responsibility. And because he doesn't do that, he takes a sack, and now it's 3rd and long. So Austin Mack, he's not perfect. I get that he's not perfect, but he's great. And I really like a lot that I've seen from him in that Indiana game, and I love his intangibles. I think he should be the starting quarterback for this Alabama offense. Whether he will be or not, we'll see. But I think if Ryan Grubb truly trusts his play calling and the rest of his offensive personnel, Austin Mack will be the starter. But let's talk about the rest of that offensive personnel. Of course, game it was the main problem last year for the Crimson Tide. They need to have some sort of semblance of something. Daniel Hill will be the starting running back. They've also got a bunch of other guys they're trying to work in. They got the freshman Crowell, something like that. He could be explosive. We'll see. He's got a great build. I think he's got great potential. We'll see what happens with him, see if he gets playing time. They also got AK Deer. I really like AK Deer. I liked him a lot in high school. He has really cool tape. Then he played against Georgia and had no pop whatsoever. My goodness, that dude was freaking terrible. I hated watching that against Georgia. But he looks really good sometimes. So maybe he'll do something. He's a sophomore. He's young. He's younger than me, which is crazy. But we'll see what happens. And the offensive line is totally revamped. Jackson Lloyd and William Sanders are coming back. They did not start last year. The only starter that this Alabama team retains is in yellow, Michael Carroll. The starters are in yellow, by the way, from last year. I think blue is the other color. They are transfers or newcomers. So like Cedarian Morgan is a freshman. He's a newcomer, wasn't on the team last year. And everybody else was on the team last year but didn't start. Rayson Delgatti, Michael Carroll, and Javen James are the new guys. And I say Michael Carroll's new because he played tackle last year, moving him to guard, which I think is his more natural position. And I think it's what he played in high school. So that should be good for Alabama's offensive line. They addressed the situation. You can't say they didn't try. They hired a new offensive line coach, and they got a bunch of new guys out of the portal. So they're trying to upgrade the offensive line. They need to. They really, really need to. Let's talk receivers. Ryan Williams is coming back. However you feel about that is however you feel about that. He could not do anything last year. My opinion on Ryan Williams, he is dynamic with the ball in his hands in the open field. Alabama should try their best to get him in the open field as much as possible. Alabama should not trust his route running. Alabama should not trust his hands. Alabama should not throw the ball to Ryan Williams more than 10 yards down the field. I don't think that's worth it. I don't think they should. But if you're throwing bubble screens to him, if you're getting him the ball and whatever trick plays Ryan Grubb draws up, if you're getting him the ball in the flats, that's where he's the most dynamic. That's where they should utilize him. Everything else I just don't want to see from the Alabama offense because it'll just make me frustrated. Latsier Brooks is going to be one of the best slot receivers, I think, in the SEC this year. He was fantastic last year. He's a great freshman. He'll be a true sophomore. He's changed his number to something. Everyone likes changing their numbers these days. I don't know why. Just stick with what you got. It's a number. It didn't matter. You think St. Joseph was out there changing his number? You think he was out there getting new tools all the time? No, he was making it work because he's a humble guy. Stop changing your numbers, especially Ryan Williams going to number 1. I hate that. The only people that could rock number 1 is Cam Newton and me. C.D. Morgan is going to be really interesting. True freshman for Alabama. He's like 6'5", 220. If you don't know about him, Google him. He's huge. They're calling him Julio Jones 2.0 over there in Tuscaloosa. So, yeah, that dude's freak. It could be really good. I really, really like him and Derek Meadows. Derek Meadows is like 6'4". If Alabama lines up Derek Meadows on one side and C.D. Morgan on the other and then has Lottie Brooks in the slot, that's going to be spooky. Alabama's got no shortage of weapons. If Austin Mack's the quarterback, I truly think it's going to be a very consistent passing attack with the weapons they have and the quarterback that they have. If Keelon Russell's a quarterback, it's going to be chaos all over the place. Some games he's going to be great. He's going to make some highlight plays, and we're going to go, wow, this guy's special. Other games he might throw 3 interceptions, and the offense might be very inconsistent and make no sense, and we'll get mad and blame Caleb DeBoer. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. The tight end room, I think, is weak for Alabama. I don't think Caleb Edwards is a very good blocker, and that's the most important thing. Alabama did hire a new tight ends coach, so maybe that'll change. This dude, Richard Owens, is in his first year, got him from Louisville. He was Louisville's offensive line coach last year. He's now Alabama's tight end coach. So if that tells you anything, it should tell you that Alabama's going to be trying to block and block a lot, which is good. They need that. Go watch Georgia tape. Georgia's tight ends blocked so well last year. Oscar Delpin, what's the other dude's name? Lawson Lucky. I loved watching Georgia last year just because I loved watching those tight ends block, and I loved watching Zachariah Branch. But anyway, that's the offense. The defense should be spectacular. It was great last year. The front seven was a little inconsistent at times. Justin Jefferson, the best tackler. Deontay Lawson was not the fastest guy in the world. And by that, I mean he was pretty dang slow. The secondary is going to be all world. It was the best in the SEC last year, and they returned pretty much everybody other than Damani Jackson, who was the worst one. So Xavier Brown and Dijon Lee should form possibly the best cornerback duo in the country. Bray Hubbard and Keon Sabb are both fantastic. They're not the best athletes in the world, but they're very smart football players. That's why they excel at the college level. And I love watching Red Morgan. That dude, keep your eye on – I don't know if he's still number 16 because, again, people change their numbers. If Red Morgan is still number 16 and you're watching Alabama defense, look for the nickel. Look for number 16 because every time someone tries to run anything towards him, he doesn't care about the ball. He just freaking hits people. I love it. He's maybe my favorite player on this Alabama team is Red Morgan. You know what? I should do that. Every single team that I'm going to preview, I'm going to do like a Robert's favorite, which is like my favorite player on the team. This year is Red Morgan. Red Morgan is awesome. I love that dude. He's my favorite player on this Alabama team for sure. He's not the best by any stretch of imagination, but he's fantastic to watch. The front seven is also very revamped for Alabama. The only real returning starter in this unit is Yanze Pierre, who was great last year at times. He was inconsistent at others, but we'll see if he can put it all together into a phenomenal season. That's sort of up to the determination of whatever you think. I don't know. He had 8 sacks last year. He's pretty good. I don't think he's like – there's some groundbreaking, phenomenal, all-world edge rushers in this conference this year. Yanze Pierre is not one of those, but he's still good. He's good. He's better than what Alabama's had at the pass rushing position in the last couple of years. I'll say that. I really like Caleb Woodson, Virginia Tech transfer. He's got a lot of experience. He'll be playing linebacker alongside QB Reese. If a dude's named QB, he's going to be a good football player. Come on. They got a lot of transfers on the D-line. Devin Tompkins, Terrence Green. They got a dude from South Carolina. They got a dude from Mississippi State. And then London Simmons is coming back. So this defense should be great. Again, I'd be shocked if it's bad. Keelon is a fantastic defensive mind. The coaching staff is all coming back from next year. Secondary is going to be awesome. They might get torched on the ground a little bit. I am a little worried about that. I'm also a little bit worried about the pass rush for this team. But overall, I think that this team should be great on the defensive side of the ball. Let's look at the schedule. This is the last thing that we'll do. This is a very interesting schedule for Alabama. It starts off pretty simple. You know, they got East Carolina to start 11 a.m. in Bryant-Denny Stadium. If they lose that game, might as well fire everybody. Then they play at Kentucky. This game is much more interesting than I think people are giving it credit for. I think Kentucky is going to be good next year. I don't think anyone's talking about Kentucky. I think they're going to be really, really good. And by really, really good, I mean maybe win like 7 or 8 games. But they're going to be scary. That game on the road, week 2 against Kentucky, do we remember what Kentucky did to Georgia a couple years ago? Like that's a spooky place to play in week 2. And if I'm Alabama fan, like Alabama fans probably looking at that game and they're like, all right, it's Kentucky. Come on. We beat him in basketball. We're going to smoke him in this sport. That's going to be spooky. I'm not all that excited if I'm an Alabama fan playing at Kentucky. It's going to be interesting. They'll beat Florida State by 40. If they don't, I don't even at that point. That'd be really funny actually. If Alabama loses to Florida State back-to-back seasons, I would kind of laugh. That'd be funny. Then they play South Carolina. South Carolina might be better too next year. SEC is going to be interesting. But then they got Mississippi State. They could very easily waltz into the Georgia game at home 5-0. They could be feeling really good about themselves. But they could also struggle. They could also barely beat Kentucky. They could barely beat South Carolina. And they could waltz into the Georgia game, not great. But here's an interesting stat. If you're an Alabama fan and you want to hear some stats, Keelon DeBoer is number 1 in the country right now amongst current head coaches in top 25 games. He has the best record. He's like 18-5 or something like that against top 25 teams, which is number 1, like literally number 1 amongst active coaches. It's crazy. So if you're Alabama, you shouldn't be worried about the big games as much as you should be. Like I could very, very honestly see Alabama lose to Kentucky in week 2 and then turn around and beat Georgia. It could so happen. And if you say, Robert, that's not going to happen. That's crazy. Do we not remember what's happened the last couple of years? Alabama losing to Florida State and then beating Georgia. Alabama losing to Vanderbilt after beating it. They honestly, if I'm here and I'm predicting this schedule and I'm honestly giving my honest take, I think Bama's going to beat East Carolina. I think they're going to lose to Kentucky. I think they'll beat Florida State, beat South Carolina, beat Mississippi State, beat Georgia, and then turn around and lose to Tennessee because that just makes so much sense. Keelon DeBoer, they're not winning at Tennessee. Are you kidding me? I mean, it could happen. It could happen. Maybe I'm crazy. It could happen. But, I mean, come on. We'll see what happens. Texas A&M, that's going to be really interesting. Texas A&M is kind of weird this year. I would take Alabama to win that game. Then they got to go at LSU. I'd take the Bayou Bengals. I think LSU is going to be fantastic. So I think I got Alabama going 9-3, maybe 10-2. Honestly, the hinge game is at Kentucky. If they can win at Kentucky, I'll say they go 10-2 and make the playoffs. But if they lose to Kentucky, which might happen, I don't know. We'll have to see. And it depends on what other teams do too. But I also hate that they still got Chattanooga in their schedule. Goodness gracious. Go play somebody. What's going on? But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all that I got for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Should be a fun year. We'll see who starts at quarterback. That's like the biggest wild card for this team. But it's another prove-it year for Keelon DeBoer, another prove-it year for his coaching staff. And I will be very much so tuned in on some Alabama games this year. And I'm excited to see which direction it goes. So thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you take one thing away from this video, it's not that I think Mack should start. It's not that I think Alabama's to go 9-3 or 10-2 or lose to Kentucky or beat Georgia. If you take one thing away from this video, please let it be that Jesus Christ loves you. He loves you infinitely, more than you could ever imagine, no matter what. Like, literally, the creator of the universe, the guy that made everything that you see, everything that you hear, everything that you feel, everything from and that has made every single person to ever exist and that has existed right now and will exist for eternity. That same God that created all of that looked at the world and said, it's not complete without one of you. This person watching, he very intentionally created you, uniquely separated from everyone else, and he loves you more than you could ever imagine. And this is not me saying I'm better than you, and I'm not. Trust me, I'm a sinner as much as anybody else. But please, if you do one thing after watching this video, please just say a quick prayer. You know, it could be a 30-minute prayer, it could be a 5-minute prayer, it could be a 5-second prayer. Just could be you saying, hey, God. You can tell him about your day. You can really do anything you want. But, I mean, Jesus Christ not only saved my life, but also continues to save my life every single day. And if I choose him, I'm at my happiest. It's whenever I try to live my life without him that it goes south. So please, 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 that's a Sabrina Carpenter song. Please, 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 just talk to Jesus. He wants to talk to you so bad, and he loves you so much. With that being said, thanks so much for watching. I love each and every one of you that are watching this video. I hope you have a great week. It's June. World Cup starting soon, so it's going to be a good time. I'm going to have a lot of fun watching Bosnia. I'm a big Bosnia fan for no reason. I'm hopping on the Bosnia hype train. So go Bosnia. Go whatever your country you're from. Most of y'all probably American. It's a college football video. I don't think there's any Turks watching this video. If there are, I mean, I'm not mad about that, but I don't think there are. So again, thanks very much for watching. Have a great night, and I'll see you guys later.